Sublimation involves a change in state from the solid to the vapor, or from the vapor to the solid, without directly going through the liquid phase. Whenever we smell a solid, such as mothballs, and I have a box here of mothballs, the vapor is given off by the solid. And so the fact that we can smell the solid means that sublimation is taking place. The solid itself is changing state into the vapor and reaching our nose so that we can actually detect the smell of the mothball crystals. What I'm going to do for this demonstration is to take a crushed mothball crystal. So I've taken a crystal of mothballs and broken it up with my knife, just cut it up into smaller pieces, and I'll place a second beaker with ice inside that. So I'll just wipe it off before I actually insert it. For the second beaker, the first beaker is a 100 ml beaker, the second one is a 50 ml beaker, and will sit inside the 100 ml. But then we'll heat that up using an alcohol burner. This is to speed up the process of vaporization. The purpose of the inner beaker is to produce a cold surface on which the vapors of the naphthalene, which is the component of mothballs, can sublime. Now we are getting melting of the mothballs because of course of the heat that we're at, so we can take the heat away. There's enough heat now to cause the vaporization of the naphthalene. You can see crystals of the naphthalene forming on the bottom of the inner beaker. Notice the flakes along here on the inside. Now if we take that apart, you can now see the crystals hanging on and just shaking. As I shake it, they come off. They're beautiful flakes, long, flat plates of naphthalene crystals. One problem with this demonstration is that some of the vapors will escape, and I've got an open beaker here that's still quite warm. And what you should really do is to cover it up immediately once you take the inner one out to prevent the vapors from escaping, and then even set this outside the classroom so that the students are not exposed to the vapors of the naphthalene for very long. Similarly, once you see the crystals on the bottom of the beaker, it might be a good idea just to keep a few, but then to also set this outside to minimize the exposure to the vapors. Another way to demonstrate sublimation on a smaller scale is to put a small amount of the mothball crystals in the bottom of a test tube. Just cover the test tube with some aluminum foil to minimize the release of the vapors, and then heat that over an alcohol burner. As the naphthalene or the mothball crystals are heated, the solid turns into a liquid, but then the vapor will condense in the cooler part of the test tube. And so you see in this region of the test tube some of the sublimed naphthalene. It's a little bit more difficult to see the actual crystals of naphthalene as we saw with the beaker, but nevertheless you can still make out the nice flat plates of the sublimed naphthalene. And if you let this stand for a while, because the liquid is still fairly warm, sublimation will continue for some time, and you can then let these crystals grow. And then you can also show this to the students to show then the sublimation of naphthalene. Doing it in a test tube certainly reduces the release of naphthalene vapors into the classroom, and so it's probably a little bit safer to do, unless you have a very well-ventilated classroom to take the odors of naphthalene out of the room.